had cancer and he passed from it, and then my father had COVID and passed from it. So it was a difficult time.
Down to a surgical tech program. Tell you no. Well, some people would have taken that and been so discouraged and never thought about the field of healthcare.
And specifically with diversity, I always use the word representation matters. With the doctorate degree does not make you make the doctor.
Look at you turning around rejection after rejection after rejection. And you were a qualified applicant.
I want to be that guy one day working in a hospital. That's going to be me.
Ready to shatter the status quo and unleash your leadership potential? Sick of the same old tired leadership advice? Well, get ready to disrupt your thinking and transform your leadership skills. Welcome to Sound Leadership with DJ, the podcast that's about to challenge everything you thought you knew about leadership. Join DJ as he dives into the trenches with industry trailblazers, exploring the real issues leaders face today. From innovative strategies to proven techniques, we'll uncover the secrets to taking your leadership from good to great. Get ready to be inspired, challenged, and equipped to conquer new heights. Join the movement and let's redefine leadership together. This is Sound Leadership with DJ. Leadership redefined.
Welcome to Sound Leadership with DJ, your go-to podcast for all things leadership. I'm your host, DJ, and if you're ready to learn from the best in the field, you're in the right place. In today's episode, we have a very special guest joining us today, Dr. Dwayne Alleyne. Dr. Alleyne is a clinical associate professor at the University of South Carolina and the co-founder and executive director of Capital Nurse Practitioners Group. He is also a dedicated member of the board of directors and serves as the social media chair for DNPs of Color and holds the position of member at large at the South Carolina Nurses Association. Dr. Alleyne's passion for leadership and mentorship is truly remarkable, and he's here today to share his insights and his wisdom with us. Dr. Alleyne is on a mission to inspire future nurses, and we'll discuss how to become a mentor, and he will discuss, how to become a mentor or inspiration for others. He'll also shed light on the transformative journey of turning disappointment into a dream. Sound Leadership with DJ wants you to stay connected with us. You can do so by following us on LinkedIn and YouTube at Sound Leadership with DJ. Following us on those pages will provide additional content and behind-the-scenes glimpses of episodes just like this. We want you to remember, you can also catch us on your favorite podcast platforms like Apple Music, Alexa, iHeart, and so much more. Simply search Sound Leadership with DJ and hit that subscribe button to never miss an episode. Now it's time for you to get ready to be inspired, motivated, and empowered to be your best self. Welcome, Dr. Alleyne. How you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Hey man, I have been chasing you down forever. I know you're extremely busy. You're doing talks across the nation, inspiring and empowering people to get into the field of nursing, get into the field of leadership. So I just thank you for taking time out of your day to speak with me here on Sound Leadership with DJ.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure. I'm looking forward to sharing some wisdom and some pearls.
Listen, as I always tell people, my first thing out the gate is, I know I did an introduction, but it holds no candle to who you truly are. So can you tell us who Dr. Alleyne truly is?
Well, Dr. Alleyne, well, first of all, I'm a God-fearing man. I have a wife and 2 children. I'm a acute care nurse practitioner. I've been in nursing for over 20 years. I love helping people and seeing people be motivated and inspired, and especially those that are down and out and think they can't do something. I always tell them my story where I thought I could never be where I am today, but I continue to push, and despite the obstacles, I found a way and maintain confidence, also sought out help and encouragement from others. So that's who I am, somebody that's inspirational and committed and dedicated.
Wow. That is powerful. When you say, dedicated, I'm sure becoming a doctor and having a doctorate in nursing didn't happen overnight. So talk to us about your journey to be where you are now with those fancy initials behind your name. And for our viewers, it's quite a few things. So I'll let him explain his certifications and his journey to greatness.
Y'all, you sure you have time? It's a long journey. It was a long journey. So first of all, I'll say, and this is something I usually say at most talks or podcasts I'm in, I never wanted to be a nurse. My mother was a nurse,
That's me.
and I originally went to school to become a physician. So I did not want to be a nurse. My mother said, you should be a nurse. I said, no, no, no. So my journey started when I had a physiology degree in not university, Michigan State University. I almost said
Hold on,
blasphemy.
hold
I
on, hold
almost said
on. Time
university.
out. What was you doing at Michigan State? I'm from Detroit. What were you doing at Michigan State?
I went to and it's a funny story how I ended up at Michigan State because when I was applying to schools, Michigan State was aggressive in trying to. Because I have a twin brother. That's one thing. I'm a twin. Michigan State was very aggressive in recruiting my brother and I to the school, and I never heard of Michigan State. I was like, I never heard of Michigan State. So when they sent us videotapes, and videotapes were back in the day, so that's showing my age. They sent us videotapes and all kind of stuff. And I said, this school is kind of aggressive, so I'll kind of look into it. And I thought it was the University of Michigan, so we kind of applied, and I didn't realize that I got until after I got in. I said, oh, this is green. This color looks green. It's not gold and maize or blue. And then we got accepted to Michigan State University. So that's how I ended up at Michigan State University. And I ended up studying with a degree in physiology. My twin brother did one in veterinary medicine. So I ended up in Michigan State with the goal of trying to go to med school. At that time, I struggled with being focused and determining what I needed to do in order to achieve that dream. I actually studied for the MCAT. Took it about 3 times, never got the score that I needed to get. So my dreams were dashed because I figured I could never do anything or make something of myself. So I decided to do what I call taking a step back in order to move forward. So I went home trying to decide what I could do to better my life. And I was thinking about maybe I should go to grad school, but I thought that would be a waste of time because I need to work. So I went home, initially worked in a factory. I don't know if it was a legal factory or not because they were like trying to pay us under the table, and there's some fishy activity going on. But I worked in a factory where I had to stack magazines where they sent out stock information. So I had to do that. And while I was doing that, I was trying to figure my way and trying to determine what I need to do to get to what I want to be. So I still was exploring the health field and trying to decide, I need to find a way to get into this health field and kind of get to a place where I need to be so I can, achieve my dream of taking care of people. So I looked at PA school initially because I'll be in the health field trying to take care of people. I applied to a school in Brooklyn, got through the first couple of phases and I got to the main interview. And I thought that main interview was difficult because they had a bunch of people looking at you and they're looking at you all serious. And then he made you take a chemistry test, and I was never good at chemistry. So I was like, oh, guys, I have to take a chemistry test. And then they gave me a letter that I did not get in. So I applied again, and unfortunately, they instantly rejected me. Didn't even waste any time. He said, it felt like as soon as I sent the letter in, they mailed it right back and say, sorry. So that was quick. Then I tried to apply to surgical tech school. So I was still determined, like I said, dedicated. So I said, I'm determined. I'm just going to apply to surgical tech school so I can at least, get into the health field, be exposed. And when I applied, something happened with the application, and I think things happen for a reason. I think God allowed this thing to happen so I can be directed into the field of nursing. So I applied to surgical tech school. Something happened with the paper. They did not receive all the paperwork. By the time I figured that out, it was past the deadline. So I called them. I said, I did turn this paperwork in. And they said, no, you didn't. Sorry, you can't get in. I said, fine. Okay. So I was at a loss. I said, what will I do? And then my mother's friend was a nurse as well. And she said, you should apply to LPN school. Because it was a short time frame. I wanted to get into something because if I remained idle, I'll just kind of be lazy and not do anything. So after my mother's friend told me to apply to LPN school. I went to a tech school and applied to LPN school and got in quickly. Meanwhile, when I got the acceptance letter, the surgical tech school that rejected me called me and said, "Hey, we have a spot. We can let you in now." I said, "Now you let me in?" I said, "I'm sorry, I got accepted to LPN school. You sure? You sure we can really use it?" I said, "No, no, thank you. You guys rejected me." So I
Yes.
went to LPN school, and that's when I fell in love with nursing. Kind of
Wow.
realized my niche, because I did, even though I was working full time, because I worked at a factory, a mail factory, that hired pretty quick. It was instant benefits, so I was working there full time and going to school full time. So I was sleeping like 3 hours a day, trying to study. I would take a power nap, get up, go to school, and then take tests, and I still did pretty good. I was one of the top students in that course. So I got through that LPN school. While I was working as an LPN, I applied to a school in New York at Delphi University. That's how I got my bachelor's degree. So I was working as a nurse, as an LPN, and they'd even hard time saying trying to make me work extra hours, and they wouldn't honor the fact that I was in school. And they said, "Too bad." Yes.
Yeah.
So I fought on that, and so since one job didn't let me adjust, I went to another job, and they let me work my schedule and flex around my schedule, so I was able to work and go to school, and that made nursing school a breeze. So I went to Delphi University, graduated summa cum laude. I was a top student in the class, and got all these honors and awards because I was very determined and dedicated. So after I graduated at Delphi University, I was at impasse where I should work. A recruiter from the Air Force came to the school, and it kind of gave me a interesting spin on how to start a career in the Air Force. So I ended up going into the Air Force as my first job as an RN. I didn't like it at first because I didn't realize the Air Force is mission first. So they're not going to put you. They don't care about you being a nurse or not. They train you some, but they mission first. So they put you where you need to be. So I was placed in a clinic, and in the
Hmm.
clinic you are what you call a glorified secretary. So I pretty much answered telephone calls.
Wow.
Had patients yelling at me because they didn't get their appointment, or I would refill their medications. So I was very discouraged from that position. I said, I'm never going to learn anything. So I begged the commander to let me work in the hospital, and they were very resistant to that idea. But after a while, they let me work. I worked in the hospital, but I still wasn't satisfied. So I went to the commander and said, I'm going to leave the Air Force unless you send me somewhere where I get some clinical experience. So they reluctantly sent me to Texas, where I was in San Antonio, and that's where I worked as a in the med surg ICU unit. I mean med surg surgical unit.
Hmm.
So I worked there, and that's when I started truly getting my nursing experience as well. And I forgot, and when I got in, I also did the GI Bill, so that helped. So
Wow.
after I did that, I went to Iraq. I went to Iraq for the last few months prior to me being honorably discharged. So that's a whole story within itself. But I had a good experience there and learned a lot. Seen some stuff that's really eye opening. Shortly after I came back from Iraq, I didn't medically, I was honorably discharged shortly after, and then moved to South Carolina, and where I worked in the ICU. So I worked in the
Wow.
ICU at a major hospital. Shortly, 6 months after I started working in the ICU, I started looking at nurse practitioner programs. I said, because I really wanted to be a nurse practitioner, because I remember being an LPN and seeing a male nurse working in the hospital, and he was like seemed very confident and very cocky and confident. So I want to be that guy one day working in the hospital. That's gonna be me. I saw that guy, and the guy was staring at him. He's looking at me like, "Why are you staring at me?" I was thinking to myself, "This is gonna be me one day working in the hospital." So I said, "I'm gonna be a acute care nurse practitioner." So, like I said, 6 months out after I started working in ICU, I applied to University of South Carolina, got in, and went to the acute care nurse practitioner program. So that's where I ended up doing that for a while. I got my first real hospital job at the VA Medical Center. Then I moved to a local hospital, a community hospital, which is now Prisma Health Richland, and worked there. And I still work there now. I've been working there as a hospitalist. During
Wow.
that time, I was, involved in a lot of stuff. However, after I was initially resistant to the thought of getting my doctorate. But like I said, after I worked with some students, I became inspired to say, you know what, I need to be in a position where I can inspire, encourage, and then share my knowledge with students. And the only way I could have done that is by getting my doctorate. So I got my doctoral degree in 2020, which was a difficult time because at that time my sister had cancer and she passed from it, and then my father had COVID and passed from it. So it was a difficult time.
Yeah.
But I got through it, and then as soon as I got through it, the school, University of South Carolina, swooped me up and then had me stole me and kidnapped me into the profession of academia. So I've been doing it. This is my 4th year in academia. Also, I've been involved in multiple organizations, and since I got my doctorate, people have been pulling me in different directions in different leadership positions. And so I have many invitations, many opportunities, and just trying to focus and hone in on those that will be focused on my mission, which is to inspire, especially people that look like me, students of color, to inspire them, to let them know, hey, you can make it in the nursing field. If I did it, you can.
Wow. I think that's motivational. And a lot of our listeners know, I started out as an LPN as well, worked my way up. Very similar story, right? RN, BSN, MSN, and now I'm working on a DNP as well. Similar to yourself, to inspire and motivate others.
Mm-hmm.
I think that is a mission, that is a purpose, is to really show people that you can do it. Look at you turning around rejection after rejection after rejection when you are a qualified applicant. But when it's not your destiny, it's not your destiny, right? You found your calling, and there you are with DNP after your name. Even going through the situations that you went through in 2020, you talk about, deaths of your loved one on top of COVID and everything else that's going on. But you stuck with it and you did it. And I think that's one of the signs of a true leader. When we talk about leadership, somebody who can, move with grace in the face of adversity, and you didn't let any barrier stop you. So kudos to you. As we move into more of your leadership and what leadership is, talk to us about what you look for in a leader.
So what I look for in a leader is somebody that's humble and able to say they made mistakes, somebody that listens to others and involves everyone. Because I'm always somebody that likes to have different ideas. And for example, when I was a leader of Capital Nurse Practitioner Group, one of the things that used to concern me is when I first started, people used to defer everything to me. So they say, oh, I have this idea or whatever, and they would say, whatever. Whatever you say, that's fine with me. I said, no, I want you to give me some opposition or give me some other ideas. I don't want this just to be the Dwayne group. I want this to be a conglomerate of ideas. The organization Capital Nurse Practitioner Group, where I'm the executive director of, it did not grow until we had a conglomerate of ideas. Everyone contributed and impacted the group. And that's why I encourage. So encourage everyone to impact. I step in when I need to, when I have the facts, and when I step in when it's to prevent some disastrous things from happening. But I always encourage actual input from members and encourage new ideas. Looking for someone to be innovative, as times always change. You cannot do the same thing every time. Just because something worked in the past, it doesn't work in the future. You always have to be adaptive, and also don't worry about failing. I said, if you fail, that's fine. You expect to fail, but just get up, dust yourself off, and pivot. So one of the things you look for is being able to pivot at the last minute, especially when things are chaotic. I can tell my leadership positions have helped me. Sometimes something unexpected happens, and I stay calm, think of all the solutions I can do at that moment, and then just pivot and go right to the next solution in order to make things happen. So.
I think it's impressive, and you've already talked about some of the fails that you've had kind of entering the field of leadership, but oftentimes leaders don't share their fails as a leader. So is there a time that you recall that, you made a decision that wasn't favorable or that you had to walk back, and what'd you learn from that decision or that fail?
I failed multiple times, so it's hard to grasp specifically because I've been in so many leadership positions. I can say just generally where I did not put my trust in somebody, or I just disregarded somebody's idea, and I had to walk it back and apologize and say, well, and say, hey, I ignored your idea. I just completely disregarded your thoughts. I apologize, and let's kind of mend. Let's make amends and kind of bring them forth into planning. So that's where I think I failed, where I just did not acknowledge people's contribution to success of certain organizations that I'm a part of. So I think that's the only time I can really generally remember, but I don't really remember specifics. Was there's multiple times I made mistakes where I did not prepare ahead of time, or I didn't anticipate something. So now I'm very paranoid. I always anticipate the worst and prepare for it just in case. So when something bad happens, people wonder, why are you so calm? As I already in my head, I already made up a backup plan. So if this fails, let's do something else. Because that's one of the things is you have to be able to work with different people. Also, I have to be careful not to be quick to dismiss people's ideas, because people may come from a different perspective than you. So you just kind of analyze it and then sit on stuff for a while, and then move forward.
Hey, did you hit that like button yet? That subscribe button yet? What if you didn't hit it? That's how I get views. I need the views. Sound Leadership with DJ invites you to like and subscribe to us on your favorite podcast platform. If you haven't, hit that bell, hit that subscribe button so you'll be notified of every single episode that we host here on Sound Leadership with DJ. Have you done it yet? All right, now back to this episode.
And I think that leads to, the next topic, which is, DEI, right? Inclusion. And like you said, not dismissing people's ideals and being inclusive, kind of like you said, right? Listening to people's thoughts and feelings. But from your leadership perspective, what role does DEI play in leadership, and how can leaders embrace DEI?
So big keyword is diversity. So diversity is real big because you want diversity of thoughts and ideas. So that's why I like diversity of thought, not just one color or one race. Diversity is a wonderful thing. That's the beauty of any organization. Helps it grow, because when you have different ideas, you can every group of people, or people from a certain group or ideology, you can pull great ideas from each of them. So never dismiss somebody just because you don't agree with them. They always have some positives that you can utilize, and when it's combined together, you can do that. It can bring out some wonderful things. So equality makes sure people have equal say and include everybody. So I like the diverse group of thoughts, not just people that look like me. I like I said, my executive board is a very diverse group of people, have a different set of ideas. And sometimes I always try to discourage when one group overpowers a thought process. I said, no, we need to welcome opposing views. That way we can grow and learn from them. So I really appreciate that. And specifically with diversity, I always use the word representation matters. So representation matters. It does. I can say at this level, if I had $1 million, $1 for every time someone said, oh, I'm glad I've never seen someone like you in this position. You have inspired me. I can tell you when I was walking in the hospital one day, this security guard, he just and I had my white coat and the stethoscope. I always wear a coat and a stethoscope when I'm working in the hospital setting. This guy sitting there looking all proud and said, look at him with his stethoscope. Look at him. I'm so proud. And he's just so happy. So diversity, representation matters. You should always, match up whatever organization you're in or work environment to what's the current environment that you're in. So it should always match the population.
Wow. No, I think that's important. As you say, diversity matters, representation matters. And, similar to yourself, I think that sometimes we face barriers being males in this field as well. So kudos to you. And there's an extra dollar to your $1 million, right? I think, what you bring to an organization from a male's perspective, from African-American male perspective, can't be matched. And I think that when organizations look to embrace diversity, equity, and inclusion, we see, greatness. And I think you sit on a board of an organization that kind of embraces that, right? And that's the DMPs of Color.
Mm-hmm.
Talk to us about that role and the mission, the organization of the DMPs of Color.
Okay. So I was saying, she'll probably beat me up. Danielle McCamey, she kidnapped me into that role. So I can say that. She kidnapped me. I always tell her, and she'll say, "You like it, Dwayne." She'll say that. But she's a good person. So I met one of the things about certain organizations. Like I said, I like diversity, equity, and inclusion. But one of the things I noticed, certain organizations, just because they have an ethnicity behind it, there's usually not a lot of depth. They just kind of focus on, the social aspect of things and looking flashy and classy. And when I first got involved with DMPs of Color, I joined a seminar, and I noticed, wow, they're really focusing on excellence in nursing. It was a seminar, I think it was talking about working with nurses in certain positions and how you can build yourself up. So that was the first meeting I attended. I said, wow, this group is really about building excellence as a nurse of color versus just being flashy and talking about how much money you make and stuff. So Danielle and I got together through LinkedIn. She said, hey, when can I get on your calendar? So we talked for a while. And since then, we've been tight. We've been working. We have the similar mindsets, building greatness in nursing. She's very focused on excellence and quality and building leadership. She's one of the people that's been pulling me up and pushing me even when I doubted myself. She'll say, no, you need to do this. You got this. So I originally was on a board of advisors, and I kind of do a lot of social media with DMPs of Color, but I did Men's Talk. That was one of the most popular webinars we had when we talk about men in nursing. And Danielle and I first did our gigs together when we talked about the value of a DMP. That was so popular. I was getting so many people reaching out to us. How can we leverage your DMP? So Danielle and I did a talk when Clubhouse first came out, when Clubhouse was a COVID thing. So she and I did a COVID talk on leveraging your DMP. And after that, people were like, how can I leverage my DMP? I need to meet with you. And we had a plan of, just because you have a doctorate and you don't get a doctorate just to call yourself a doctor, you actually need to do something. So DMPs of Color focuses on excellence in nursing, building people up. We have a journal. We're developing a journal. I was one of the first people in the cohorts that got published where they help people that are struggling getting manuscripts published. I went through a 12-week series, and I really struggled with scholarship, and because of DMPs of Color, I was able to get my first manuscript published. So when we do a lot, and we have a lot, we go into membership in January. We'll have our big conference coming up in a couple of weeks. Since then, we have blossomed. DMPs of Color have blossomed to well over thousands of members. We continue to pursue excellence by getting inspiring future DMPs or current DMPs, showing them leadership, how to leverage that doctorate degree and be impactful in certain spaces, and show them that we make a difference, and how representation matters, and we can make a difference. There's nothing like being around a bunch of doctoral nurses that look like you, and they're all executives, they're deans, they're CNOs of hospitals. So that kind of keeps me motivated. Say, okay, I have to get my game up. I have to maintain. I need to represent. So DMPs of Color has done a lot for me as far as keeping me motivated and inspired to keep doing what I'm doing.
Excellent. No, and in fact, I think I saw you on one of the social media posts from DMPs of Color. I've since then liked the page, plan on going to the conference and all this other stuff, right? Because I want to be around excellence as a leader. You talk about mentorship. How has mentorship impacted your journey, and what is your thoughts on mentorship?
One thing, mentorship is very, very important, and I'm dedicating myself to be a mentor to anybody that's really wants to be inspired in the nursing career. I'm noticing a lot of students, especially those people of color, feel disenchanted, especially if they are unsuccessful at their first attempt in the nursing career, that they feel like they cannot achieve what I have achieved. So I've put forth myself as a mentor to anybody that reaches out. Like I said, when I first got my doctorate, I had a lot of people reaching out to me on LinkedIn, just random meetings with strangers. They just wanted to, talk to me about my career path. So I tell them about my career path and I motivated them. Mentors helped me get by. I had a mentor, and I still have some mentors as well that continue to encourage me to get involved in leadership activities. Because if you think I'm doing great things now, I realize, talk to my mentor, there's even greater things I can achieve. So they kind of encourage me and say, hey, this is what you're doing now, but this is what you need to do. They set a pathway. So I think mentorship is important because people don't know the pathway until someone else shows it to them. So I dedicated myself to those that reach out because I have several people that reach out randomly, like strangers, especially through LinkedIn, say, hey, you inspired me. I got my doctorate degree. Or can you mentor me? Can you be my mentor because I want to get my doctorate? Or can you talk to me about nursing? I'm discouraged. I failed my first exam or I failed my first course. I don't think I can make it. And I kind of tell them my story and say, oh, wow, you motivated me. And my biggest motivators are my students. I can tell you that because you are automatically a mentor, whether you want to be or not, to your students. They look up to you. They hold you accountable for the knowledge you present to them. So they really are my biggest motivators to mentor because a few words can inspire them. I can tell you that I had students that were down and out because they failed, and I kind of pulled them to the side and talked to them and say, hey, you just messed up one time. If you want to be a nurse, and keep at it. And I've seen wonders. Like they all of a sudden they fail the first exam and then they get perfect scores on the remaining exams. So anytime they come pop up in my office, I say, hey, come in, let's tell me what's going on and talk to them and encourage them. So mentorship is very important. I always tell people, don't just get one mentor, get plenty of mentors because each mentor, depending on their expertise, can give you a little piece of something. I tell you, my mentors give me a piece of something. I use it and it's been wonderful. Opportunities wide open. So,
No, I believe in mentorship, and I think it has its place not only to grow leaders, but people who are inspiring to be a leader, people who are inspiring to do better, wanting to be better. As we talk about leadership inspiring and leadership growth, how do you stay on top of growing as a leader? How do you continue to excel into nursing excellence? What kind of resources do you utilize?
surround yourself with excellent people. Those are in higher spots. Okay. So like I said before, some people think I'm doing great things, but I don't. I'm very humble. I don't think I don't touch people I know. Although I'm not even close to where they're at now. They're doing some excellent things. So I surround myself with those people to see where is the next level. So always surround yourself with those that will pull you up and help you grow and give you constructive criticisms. But sometimes people gaslight you and tell you you're doing a wonderful job and you're doing a wonderful job and meanwhile you're doing a terrible job. You'll never grow if you don't hear the truth. So people that are willing to provide you constructive criticism, willing to show you ways to improve, give you suggestions, follow up with you as necessary, meet with you spur of a moment. So that's what I do. And always stay involved in organizations where you can have access to the people. Like DMPs of Color gives me access to great people. AAMP gives me access to great people. So when I have access to them, I can reach out to them and say, hey, I want to do this. Can you give me some suggestions? Sure, I can pull you along. And then they introduce me to other people. So I have a big circle of great people that I look to motivate me and keep me on the level where I need to be. So I know how much growth I need to get to where I want to be. Because I do have certain goals. One of my goals is to obtain my fellow in the AAMP. Another goal is for me to either be a dean or a program director. So I'm around those people that kind of give me the steps. And I just don't want it to come instantly. I want to make sure I'm ready and being able to do a good job when I'm in those positions. So I won't just jump to it if the opportunity presents itself unless I know I'm ready and geared with all the knowledge and resources I need.
Wow. I think you're definitely a wealth of knowledge, and I think you hit on it right. You are a mentor whether you want to or not, because you have students, you have people who look up to you in the academia setting. But as we talked about, right, I'm sure you have others that look up to you and are inspired. You mentioned that people reach out to you on LinkedIn. You did several podcasts, including this one, where people were able to see how you think and what motivates you. But as we draw this podcast to a close, what information can you share with someone who's maybe thinking about getting into the field of nursing and or thinking about going for that DNP, but they're a little reserved, they're a little hesitant.
Okay. So first I'll address the nursing. So if you want to get into the field of nursing, I would recommend you talk to some nurses, shadow. You don't have to necessarily shadow a nurse. Just be in a hospital environment, kind of look around and talk to fellow nurses, ask them what they like about nursing, what they don't like about nursing, tell them about the benefits of nursing, things that they may struggle with. Because the fact is, nursing school can be very difficult. It can be very stressful. It can increase their anxiety, but at the end, it's worth it. Because when I went through nursing school, that's why I kind of wearing that mantra. I'm stressed. I can't sleep. I'm waking up all nervous or anxious, but at the end, it's worth it, and it has been worth it. I always inspire nurses about opportunities nursing holds. One thing is you don't have to be at the bedside. You can work in informatics. You can do case management. You can teach. You work as a school nurse. You can have your own business. Nursing teaches you how to be a good manager, how to deal with difficult situations, and that gives you business acumen. So it can be very helpful and reliable when you do that. Also, one of the things about nursing is you always can change and pivot. If you don't like your career, you can change and pivot. So you can do that. Now, as far as the doctorate degree, if somebody's interested in a doctorate degree, the doctoral degree is about leadership. So I'm not the type to tell every nurse that's walking on earth, go get your doctorate, it's worth it, get it. It depends on what you want. Because the doctorate degree does not make you make the doctorate degree. So first thing I ask them is, what leadership activities are you in? Are you and do you hold a committee position? Do you aspire to lead an organization? Do you aspire to make impact in a community or a group of people or overall nurses or nurse practitioners? You need to think about that if you plan to get your doctorate, because that's the expectation. Getting your doctorate, you're expected to be a leader, so you should be already either pursuing a leadership position or in a leadership position. Because once you get through school, it makes sense. This is my purpose. You understand your purpose. So,
Wow, it's inspirational, and I thank you for sharing that with the listeners. Right, there are plenty of people who are, like I say, on the borderline of entering the field of nursing, entering into leadership, and I think that your inspirational talk about failing, going to state, go green, going to state and graduating with a degree from Michigan State, and then turn around and have multiple universities tell you no, down to a surgical tech program tell you no, and then have to go into a trade school. Some people would have taken that and been so discouraged and never thought about the field of healthcare. But you took it and you used it as motivation to get those letters after your name, which stand DNP after your name. So kudos to you. I think it is great for the viewers and the listeners to see and hear your story is so inspirational. So I thank you for coming on Sound Leadership with DJ.
thank you. I appreciate it.
So thank you to Dr. Alleyne for joining us here on Sound Leadership, and thank you to the viewers for joining us here on Sound Leadership with DJ. I hope you gained valuable insights and information from our conversation today. If you've enjoyed this episode, we encourage you to like and follow our social media pages for more great content. You can find us on YouTube and LinkedIn at Sound Leadership with DJ. Also, don't forget to tune into our podcast on your favorite platforms, including Apple Music, Alexa, iHeart, and so much more. Simply search Sound Leadership with DJ to stay up to date. Remember, leadership is a journey, not a destination. Keep striving to learn and grow and never give up on your goals. That's what Dr. Alleyne has told us. Here it is, a Michigan State graduate who was unable to follow his dreams, but he didn't let that deter him. See, he was deferred, but not deterred. And he used that grit, that determination he had to change paths into something that he loves to do. You heard it first. He is a professor inspiring the next generation with his knowledge. He believes in diversity, equity, and inclusion. I want you to take that, be inspired, and go on into your leadership journey. Don't be afraid to seek out a mentor, to reach out to myself, Dr. Alleyne, or anyone else that you feel you need to connect with. Until next time, join us again soon on Sound Leadership with DJ.
Thanks for tuning into Sound Leadership with DJ. If you like this episode, be sure to subscribe to the show on your favorite podcast platform. Share your favorite takeaways with a friend or colleague. Leave a review and let us know what you think. And remember, leadership is not just a title, it's a choice. Choose to lead with purpose, passion, and impact. See you on the next episode.